co-host Dalton with me, but today we do have a special guest, Mr. Chris Kramer, former Purdue player. Everyone I'm sure knows who he is. He invented the defense lives here mantra. So he defined toughness defense, what it means to be a Boilermaker. Chris, thank you for joining us tonight. I speak for both of us when I say it does mean a lot for you to take your time to do this. And we respect the hell out of you as a player in your years at Purdue as a Boilermaker. So I do have to say before we get going here, when you got to Purdue, I was a 16-year-old kid, and I was in my formative years as a Purdue fan and just a young man in general. And watching you and your energy and the edge you brought every night out there, it did inspire me a lot. And my son today, he's 10 years old. He found out we were doing this, and he's been looking up highlights of you and stuff. So that's been kind of fun to see. And I told him, you want to be great at basketball, you got to learn the defensive end first. But again, thank you so much, and really appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you guys, inviting me on here, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah. I'll kick it off. First question. You shattered the freshman steals record with 64. Did it ever kind of feel like you were too good at it or, kind of a thief? Was it instinctual? Or was there ever a time you thought, like, I should not be this good at this?
It was honestly just pure instincts. I played defensive back in football, um, so I was great at like reading the quarterback and kind of seeing things happen before it actually did. And then a lot of it came with just scouting report and everything of knowing what the other team was going to do. Um, and then a little cat and mouse a little bit too, right? You play back a little bit knowing that they're going to swing and you just jump in the passing lane. Um, Obviously the way the game was officiated back then is much different than the way the game is officiated now, and we were able to be super physical. So, um, I could really get my arm on you and control you to get you where I wanted you to go. When you pick up your dribble, you're by, the sideline, or you pick it up in the coffin corner, you're dead. If you put the ball above your head, I'm going to take it. Um, so I was very fortunate with the way the game was officiated, but it was definitely a lot of instincts and scouting report as well.
Oh, cool.
Cool, man. Yeah, obviously you have a reputation, deservedly so, as one of the best on-ball defenders in the Big Ten of all time. Definitely for Purdue, of course. But what was your mindset? Every night guarding the other team's best player. Do you see any of that from CJ that kind of reminds you of yourself in a way?
Yeah, I mean, it was right. It's about sacrifice, right? And I mean, I played with, my freshman year, I played with Carl Landry and David Teague, two unbelievable players. I think Carl played 10 plus years in the NBA. And then, my sophomore through senior year with, you know, three guys that did play in the NBA. So, it was all about sacrifice. That's that was my job. And, I took pride in stepping up and playing defense and trying to guard the other team's best player. I would say I did it at a pretty high level, but there was definitely times that, I took my lickings too. Like, I remember Evan Turner just destroying me in Mackey. I think it was a game. Robbie might have went berserk, and Evan Turner just went even more crazy. But like, that comes with the territory, right? I mean, not every night's going to be yours, and sometimes you're going to run into, a player of the year. I think Evan was a number two pick, or you're going to run into a player that just, you might play great defense, but they play better offense. Um, but I think CJ definitely has some of those things. I mean, he takes on that responsibility a lot. Um, and then sometimes Jakari comes in and steps into that, and even Braden sometimes has stepped into it too, um, especially depending on situations and foul trouble. Um, but I think CJ definitely has some of that dog in him a little bit, and he takes pride in it. So it's something as a fan and as a former player I can definitely really appreciate from CJ.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you see a lot of CJ, like similarities to how you played defense and how you handled things? This is kind of off kilter question, but just going off of that, like what kind of similarities do you see in him? That kind of made you stand out on defense.
I think the game is just the way it's refereed is just so differently than when I played. So, it's hard to have some of those real distinct similarities. But I mean, you can tell he takes pride in his defensive assignments. He's had a lot of success this year in shutting down some key players on the other team. I think he did really well, last game against IU on, Lamar Wilkerson. He ended up with 18 or whatever, but like, he was pretty much non-existent in the first half. And then there's other games he's done the same. So, the thing that you can tell that he has that pride and he takes it personal. And that's what I did, because ultimately that's his role. Whatever he gives him offensively is going to be a bonus. That's, offensively, it's going to fall on those big three with Braden, TK, and Fletch. But when he plays well defensively and he's giving them, those corner threes and pull-ups, Purdue's real tough to beat.
Right. Everyone talks so much about your defense, Chris. You also played quarterback in high school. Do I have that right?
Yep.
How did that like translate to seeing passing lanes on the court? Or was it a lot of reading defenses, similar to what you do as a quarterback on the field?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both, right? Of playing quarterback and then playing defensive back as well. Um, I always had kind of that instinct. High school basketball, I guess I was, my goal was to not get in foul trouble. So, and we loved, obviously, right? You can dunk here in high school. You want the fans, like you're running through every passing lane you can, to get out and transition and try to get as many dunks as you can. So I was always like, running through passing lanes, trying to, play cat and mouse, like I said earlier, to get some deflections and steals and get those runouts. But then even when I got to Purdue, it was even more like on ball, right? Like you cross over, I'm going to take it. If you're loose with the ball, I'm going to take it. But I do think there was definitely some, similarities or just things that I took from football and applied them to basketball in terms of, reading defenses or, reading what the other team was going to do offensively. And then from a defensive back perspective, reading eyes and things like that, and then knowing what's going on to get a lot of those deals.
For sure.
Yeah.
We're going to do some fan questions later, but my son put one in here, and he should be in bed, so I'm going to read it if he's watching. He said, question for him, what is it like to play in Mackey so I'm prepared? He has some lofty goals in life. And if you want to add in, what a guy, he's a 10-year-old kid, and what somebody like that needs to do or really focus on to get better and to get to some of those goals they may have.
Oh, man. Like, honestly, so when I went to the game on Friday, right, like, when I walk in, like I get that feeling. I get those, I get the chills, I get the goosebumps. And then, they start with, the pregame and everything. And like, it just keeps like it's building, right? I think I tweeted like after like the pregame video, I was like, man, I feel like I could run through a wall right now.
Yeah.
And so like playing in front of, in Mackey and in front of those amazing fans and ones that really just roll with you, right? When the game's not going well, they're going to get behind you. If you give them a little bit to cheer about, they're going to come with you. And then when the game's going well, it's just electric. It is definitely, people have these, top 10, whatever. And it's all debatable. It is definitely one of the best environments in college basketball, one of the best places to play. As a fan, probably one of the best places to watch a game just because there's really not a bad seat.
Yep.
But for your son, I mean, first of all, I love the goal of, wanting to do that, right? I've always had big dreams, right? I always wanted to play in the NBA, and I think all kids should have these lofty, crazy dreams that people are going to be like, man, that's not attainable. But, you have to shoot for the stars, and you want your dreams to be so big, and so you can go out there and, even if you don't attain your goal, right, you're still going to push yourself to be the best person you can be as a basketball player, as a person. So as a 10-year-old, I think it just starts with the fundamentals. Start with your ball handling, your form shooting. Once you kind of get all of that, then get out there and really get as many reps up as you can. And then it all comes with your skill set, but then also playing as many games as you can, because that's where you're really going to learn. So, I love that he asked that question, and it is honestly, it's almost like until you really run through that tunnel, like it's hard to even explain. Like as a fan, you're like, this is an unbelievable venue, and it is. But when you're a player, like, and you can't hear your teammate because it's so loud, like in other places, they can't say that, right? So, Mackey is special. The paint crew special. All the fans are special. And, when you come in, say Thursday night, Michigan State's coming to play, it's going to be a top 15 matchup or whatever it's going to be. Going in, it's going to be electric, and there's going to be a buzz, as soon as you walk in. But I think, even when you go back to playing an exhibition game, right, like it's going to be sold out, going into the game that it's going to be sold out, and, it is a high demand game no matter who's coming.
Yeah, really, really appreciate that. And you kind of answered my next question. So I'm going to go a little off the hip here with, there's been a lot of talk and chatter, and I don't necessarily agree with it, about that, Mackey has not really been Mackey sometimes this year. Maybe some fans kind of oohing and awing a little too much, or groaning a little bit too much. And have you ever felt that as a player? Is that real? Or is that just made up media BS? Like what is that? And because, there have been some tough home games, but also our home games have been against the top competition in America.
I think, as reporters, right, like you have to find something to write about.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's just, it's not always going to be, Mackey was on fire. I was at the Iowa State game. I was apologizing to my daughter for that. That's the game we chose to go to. Like, talk about so boring. We had nothing to cheer for, just getting ran out of your own gym. But then, you could even go into the Illinois game. Keaton Wagler goes berserk. And that's what it took for them to win. But even last game when I was at the IU game, it was very boring, but there were still times where, the place went crazy. But was it what it's been before? Maybe not. But I think part of that is the success that these guys have had. It's expected now, right? Like that's the standard. And if it doesn't reach that or surpass that level of craziness, or, whatever the decibels need to be to make it that it's, they're blowing the roof off of Mackey, then, media are going to find something to write about. And, it's always a blessing and a curse to have the success that, these seniors have had in their career. Because you're always going to be scrutinized for some of these things that, when the games don't go your way, and, it's not always going to be perfect. I remember before the season, the schedule came out and people were like, oh, we're going to go undefeated. And it's like,
right.
In what world is that ever going to happen? Right. Like we play in the Big Ten. Coach Painter schedules very aggressively. Like it's not going to happen. You're going to have a bad night. Somebody's going to go crazy. You can't just, it's not 2K where you can just simulate your games and based on who you have, and, you're going to win. So I do think, the atmosphere maybe in some games hasn't been as electric, but it's still been really good and better than a lot of other places.
No, I appreciate that insight a lot. My son said thank you for the advice. So, yeah, that's really good insight.
Yeah, we went to the Iowa game, and it doesn't feel quite as hype. We've been to a few this year, and we kind of thought the same. But yeah, it is like almost like spoiled at this point
Hmm.
because they've just been so dominant for a few years.
But at that Iowa game, when we got going down the stretch, it was crazy.
Crazy,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
it was as loud as I can remember it. So I mean, it's in there. But yeah, you're right. The expectations just gotten kind of out of control to some level. With the undefeated talk and all this stuff. But
Yeah.
hey, that comes with the territory.
I
Yep.
suppose. I wanted to dive in a little bit on CK3 basketball camps you run. I guess want to talk about what your mission is, what it's meant to you, and what do you want it to become and develop into eventually.
Hmm.
Kind of want to shout that out on here, that way if there's kids in here, or hopefully not, it is 9:20, so hopefully they're in bed, but if they are listening, how can they get into it and, kind of what's your goals with that?
It all kind of started just as, basketball has been a vehicle that's taken me all over the world. And when I was growing up, so many people poured into me and, helped me get to where I got to. So I wanted to do the same, right? I want to pass that along, pay it forward, you could say. Um, and, coming from, I started out at the camps in Huntington and now I live in Fort Wayne. I run them in Fort Wayne. Um, but, you know, coming from Indiana, like basketball is, the thing, right? And, um, we've had kids come from Ohio. We've got when I had a camp in Huntington or Fort Wayne, people coming from Lafayette, driving up 3 days in a row. And
Wow.
that's I don't take that lightly. I don't take that for granted. We're gonna have fun, we're gonna learn the fundamentals. But like I'm trying to teach them lessons through the game of basketball that they can apply to life, right? Um, we get after it, we have a lot of fun, but like, you're going to raise your hand. You're going to, you're not going to, disrespect the officials, or you're not going to disrespect your teammate. Like we're going to try to like learn. And then when somebody your coach is talking to, you are going to look them in the eye. You're going to listen. And if not, then we're going to address it. And I feel like, we address it not in a, controversial way, but it's like, hey, like we're just trying to help you. Um, and, basketball is a right, it's not a privilege. Um, and like you don't have to play, right? If you don't do what you're supposed to off the court, in the classroom, whatever, you do not have to play. And, that's what I try to really, hammer down to these kids is like, you have to take care of everything off the court to be able to contribute on the court. And, I feel like my camps have been good. We'll have another one here. Trying to iron out some details, but probably early June, probably looking at June, like the first full week of June. I don't know what that is,
Yeah.
the 6th or something. Trying to hammer out some of those details of where we'll have it, where I've had it in the past is booked up. So trying to find a find a spot, but the camps are just a lot of fun, honestly. Um, we've kind of sectioned it up with younger kids in the morning. Um, I went down to like kindergarten
Uh-huh.
through third grade. And that kind of started because my daughter was at that age and she hadn't enjoyed playing. Her friends did. So I was like, you know, go to a place where they could lower the rims down and we could, have fun and really start them young. And then we went all the way up to like eighth grade as well. So, split them up in 2 sessions, younger kids in the morning, older kids in the afternoon, and take a break for lunch. And it's been a lot of fun. It's always, great memories. I always lose my voice, which stinks when I have to go back to work the next day. But, it's all about the kids and, obviously just, paying it forward.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Yeah. Whenever you get that figured out, shoot me a message or something. I'd love to send my son up there. He would really enjoy that. And we're just down in Peru, both of us, so we're not super far away from Huntington or
Okay.
Fort Wayne.
Can I come spectate?
Go ahead, man.
You could be a fan in the stands,
That's kinda
do
cool,
a
man.
live podcast from the CK3 camp. All right, moving on to this year's team a little bit here. When you watch them play, like, is there anything that immediately stands out to you about what makes this group special, and any secret sauce that makes you at times go, this team can definitely win it all?
You're gonna put me on the spot, huh?
I told you I wouldn't do that too. I'm sorry.
So let's just go with, is there something that, what's their secret sauce? I think their secret sauce honestly starts on the defensive end. When they are well connected and communicate and, are talking these switches out in some of these ghost screens or these fake ball screens, some of these actions off the ball, and then rebounding at a high rate, and then on the other end making shots. That's what it's going to come down to, right? Is like, can we make shots consistently for a 6-game? Can we make shots for 6 games? If we can do that and play, at that point, we don't have to play elite level defense. But if we can play high level defense and make teams take contested shots and rebound, then if we can rebound at a high level, we're going to be tough to beat, right?
Yeah.
The one thing that I will say is, especially in a tournament setting, right? If you minus that first game, everybody else, I guess, that second game of that, so when you play in the around the 32, like, to prepare for Purdue on one day,
Right.
good luck, right? Like, it's a NFL playbook of, all type of different actions, and then they have all type of different wrinkles based on how you're defending and everything. So, like, when you're going to scout against Purdue, you're going to talk about, obviously, Braden Smith and TK and pick and rolls, right? Like, what are we going to do? What is our help side going to look like? What do we want to give up, right? You can't go through every little nuance, every little wrinkle. It's impossible. At that point, your team's going to be so confused on what they're going to do. So you have to go through and be like, in top pick and roll, we're going to do this. We're going to help here. We're going to let CJ Cox have that open 3 if they get the short roll, right? Like, you have to break it down that nuanced. If they throw a post up to TK on this block, we're going to do this. If it's on this block, we're going to do this. That's what it's going to be. You have to talk about every situation. You can't go into every play. I remember, I think when they played Iowa, they said, Ben McCollum said they went through every Purdue set, and they were on the court going through walkthrough for over an hour. And at that point, it's just, right, like, mental capacity, you don't have it. You're not going to be able to remember all of that. But I think, what I really like about this team is, I think there's been some talks that this is not as good as it is, but, like, I think their togetherness, right? Like, they ride or die for each other. They have some unbelievable skill coming off the bench, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing, obviously, is it all starts with Braden. In my opinion, Purdue is the best when Braden is aggressive offensively, looking to score to start. When he does that, the whole game opens up, just from the fact that if he gets going, good luck, right? Then it's pick your poison at that point, right? Are you going to hedge? You're going to give up a pocket pass. Then you got TK coming down the lane with an advantage, shooters in the corners. It's game over at that point. But once he's aggressive, looking to score, that I would say would be like what Purdue needs from Braden on a consistent basis. I think some games he gets kind of caught up in maybe not being aggressive, but not looking to score aggressive. And when he does, it opens up his whole assist game. The thing that I really liked from Braden against Indiana was he was rejecting pick and rolls.
Yep.
So they're trying to push him to the middle. He's attacking baseline. He could have laid it up. He kicked a Fletch, buried a three. Especially when you have teams that are going to, hard hedge or trap you. If you can reject those ball screens, you're playing advantage basketball at that point. And then also, too, when you reject those ball screens, you're going to get that defender in foul trouble, right? They're going to body bump you. They're going to do things. So it's just extra pressure on the defense. And, Purdue's not a team that is great at getting to the line in general. So if we can get one of our best free throw shooters to the line more frequently in situations like that and get into the bonus quicker, that just benefits Purdue.
Yeah, for sure. When he was rejecting those screens, we were seeing him getting into the lane quite a bit more, and that frees up some kickouts. We were talking a lot about the inside out game. I'm heavy on that. Like, I think TK should have the Zach Edey rule where he touches it every time down the floor and it's his to reject. I don't know what you think about that. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think TK is that talented. I'll jump into another question off of that. What similarities or differences do you see from this year's team with one of your better teams? I know all 4 years you guys were pretty good while you were there, but what are some similarities and differences that you see between the two?
I think our teams were different. Like, you take my senior year, so Robbie, Jawani, Twan, and then Keaton or Lewis. Just the way we played was much differently. We didn't run a whole lot of sets.
Yeah.
We were in a lot of motion. We had some different actions to get, Jawan and Etwan and pick and rolls. We had some actions to, come off of handoffs and things like that. They do run kind of a play that we used to run right now. But we were in a lot of motion. We ran, we set good screens. We could get Robbie open. That way we moved well off the ball. Do I think that Lewis Jackson, could, I'm not saying to the level of Braden, but he played pick and roll in high school and things like that. It would have been maybe a better situation for him. We ran some pick and roll, some high pick and roll, some side pick and roll, to get him, going downhill, but definitely not to the level of pick and roll that Braden's playing. I mean, he's playing ungodly amount of pick and rolls. I mean, and obviously they're playing to the strengths of their team. He's phenomenal. So, similarities, I'll say there's probably not many, just from the style and the schemes that were played. And at that point, Coach Painter was, fifth year as a coach, at Purdue. Kind of feeling the pressure of every day and, trying to live up to playing at your alma mater and everything. And right now, he's totally content with who he is. He knows who he is. He knows who he is as a coach. And he's now delegating to all of these guys, right? Like, he has PJ running the offense, and then Paul and Terry Johnson running the defense. And obviously he steps in where he needs to. And then Brandon, working with the bigs and, doing all that development there. But, delegating to those guys, letting them grow while still being the head man and speaking up and saying, hey, we need to do this. Hey, we need to do this defensively. All, kind of pregame ideas are going through him and, then going, out from there. But I can say I would have liked to, if it was possible, go back to when I was a senior and this group was a senior and play each other. That would be fun, right? Just to see, we could go back and maybe take it when it was ref the way when we played. That would have been nice. But,
Right.
I think it just would be fun, right? I mean, there's all type of talks about, you could take the Jordan and LeBron and Kobe and all this and comparing different eras and all this stuff. It's all just for an argument. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
no
right.
like winner in it,
Spec
right?
talk.
But like, I would have loved to, to match up against Braden and, take that on as somebody who is going to have the ball in his hands 85% of the time, right? Or to chase Fletcher off of all of those screens. And, I think there could have been things where for us could have given them a little problem where like, who guards who and things like that with Robbie and Jawan and, Etuan. I mean, they were just, those three guys in particular were so good. But I just think it'd be a really cool thing to kind of, if we could go back in time and then take this and like, meet up at Mackey Arena on, someday, that would be awesome. But unfortunately, we can't do that.
Yeah, I think Robbie probably tell you he could take him right now. But so
I think Robbie went for like 30 or 40 in the alumni game.
Oh yeah, he
last
takes
summer,
that personally.
So.
Buckets. Yeah, he's got to show out for that. So my question is like, who do you think on this team, if you have to pick somebody, is going to be the like maybe not one of the big three, like an X factor in March? Like, Omer just had a great game. People call him the Israeli Chris Kramer. So what do you think as far as like an X factor for this team? Whether it's him or maybe it's Benter or whoever it is, do you think that one of those guys really steps up in March and kind of takes over?
I think it's going to be somebody different every
Yeah.
game. It's all, it all comes with opportunity, right? I think Omer's probably going to have the biggest chance for it to be him, just based off of if Fletcher, if any of those guys get in foul trouble, he's kind of going to be that guy to come in. And then especially someone that can run the point and get Braden off the ball and let him kind of rest a little bit, get him in pick and roll situations, coming off the ball, not having to bring it up and do all of the work. So I do think it could be Omer, but like CJ at the Bahamar was amazing. And I would love for it to be Jack Benner too. But if I had to choose just one guy, yeah, I'd have to go with Omer. I mean, I think it's just, from this sheer minutes going to be played, he really kind of has been trying to step up defensively, it looks like. It's not always going to be perfect. But offensively, his skills and getting to that pull-up, he can get a shot off whenever he wants. And then he loves to put guys kind of in jail off of pick and rolls, keep them on his back, and then, shoot get a little sidestep, a fadeaway, whatever. And that, 15-foot jumper is just almost automatic, like Carmelo Anthony. But then, as he's progressed, I know he really struggled at the beginning of the season, behind the arc. And now he's starting to make shots, both off catch and shoot and off the dribble at a much higher clip. So, the thing with him, and I heard his interview he had after the IU game, and it was very mature. It's like, hey, my preparation is my preparation. Like, it's not always going to be my night, but I'm going to prepare like every night is going to be. And, I can appreciate that, he's looking, obviously, short term, we're talking, beginning of April is when we want to be playing. But long term for like what his success can be at Purdue and then even beyond, right? So like I feel like there's a very mature kind of pulse on game to game, day to day, not getting too high, not getting too low, just on, the results of, that game.
Cool.
Yeah, big things are coming for that young guy, Omer Mayer, and him playing with Luke Girdle has us pretty excited on this show. Those two together is gonna feed families. Let's jump ahead to what we're looking forward to March, and I guess in your mind, what separates, like a good Big Ten team from a team that can really make a run and a push to the Final Four or even possibly win a championship? What are those factors there that can take a team to those levels?
I think it comes down the one thing that's going to, really play a factor is experience, right? Like this Purdue team, a lot of these guys have played in a national championship before. I think the coaching aspect of having a coach that's been there, Coach Painter, has been there. Dusty May, been there, right? Like, has Brad Underwood been there? I think they've been to the Elite Eight, but like he is an unbelievable team, right? That can be a mismatch nightmare.
Yeah.
So, I think those are the three teams. You could probably throw Michigan State in there. Personally, I don't think they shoot it well enough to be a contender, but they can defend and then rebound. And if you let them get out in transition, it can be a long night. But like the experience, then I think it comes down to like the next thing would be like point guard play, controlling the game, right? And I think Braden's able to do that, scoring the basketball and just facilitating. Because not every game do you want to get into a track meet. Some games you do, other games you're like, hey, we need to control this. Like you're playing Michigan or whoever. You don't want to get into it. Just, we're not trying to score 100. We got to, limit the possessions and things like that. But then, do you have a guy that can go get you a bucket when you need it? Do you have that guy? Yeah. Whether that's a post guy or a guard, do you have multiple people? Like, when we need a bucket, this is what we're going to do, and this is the action we're going to run. And he's going to get us a quality shot no matter what, right? I think those are the three factors from my perspective. Obviously, you have like elite level defense or elite level rebounding that can kind of negate some of these poor shooting and things like that. Then that's just kind of an extra tool in your toolbox. But, I think the experience, from your players and your coach, an elite point guard, and then just somebody who can go get you buckets. Somebody that can put the team on their back. You can like a la Carson Edwards type,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter. I'm going to go out here and hit 10 threes and, I got you, right? Like somebody that has that capability can be unbelievable.
Kill everything.
Carson, you just keep guarding him farther away. You just keep shooting it from farther away. I mean, you don't care. Yeah, I'll shoot it from half court if I need to. Just Painter will like it if it goes in. All right, we got one more question each, and then we'll get to a couple rapid fires and fan questions, and then let you out of here. If you need to take off before then, let us know. But my last one here, it's not necessarily a fun question, but something that I always think about as a somewhat pessimist at times. If Purdue falls short in this year's March Madness run, what do you think the reason is that they fall short? If you don't want to answer that, I understand. But I always wonder, like, what's the downfall that you can kind of foreshadow a little bit if it happens? If Purdue doesn't do this, they're probably going to fall short.
Thought you weren't putting him on spot, brother.
I know. Honestly, I don't think it's even like what, if they do this or don't do this. I think the biggest thing about the NCAA tournament and why it's so fun is who you play, when you play them, where you play them, right? The NCAA tournament's all about matchups.
Yeah.
Who's in your bracket? Who are you going to play them? Where are you going to play them? Like that's the biggest thing, right? But then on top of that is adjusting to some of these arenas that you play in. I remember we played in Arizona and they had the court set up not long ways like the football field was. They cut off half of the football field and you could see from like the corner, you could see the whole arena.
Yeah.
And it's just like your depth perception is all messed up. But like playing in some of these, football style arenas and they're putting a court in there and it's just massive and they're trying to, obviously it's all about money and making, revenue. it's adjusting to some of those things. It's adjusting to a new basketball, right? Like some people say these are all excuses. Honestly, it's not. You're used to playing with a Nike ball. You go and play with a Wilson ball. Completely different feels. But at the end of the day, you still have to find a way to win. So those would kind of be some of my things. But if there's one thing that I would say that would hurt Purdue, it's not being able to make shots consistently. You want to take that second half of Nebraska game, right? You make shots the first half, you have a huge lead. You miss shots in the second half, and you give up buckets, right? The game slowly starts to change. So, are you able to win games when you don't make shots? If you can, you could win a title.
Yeah, I looked at a stat the other day. Right before they lost to Duke, Michigan had won 9 straight games where they shot under 30% from three, and I thought that was just incredible to be able to still win those games shooting that poorly. Of course, they shot 57% against Purdue, but that's neither here nor there. All right, we'll get to some just quick hitters. You don't have to elaborate a whole lot on these. It's kind of a little more lighthearted stuff. So, and then we'll just do some fan questions and be done. What's the hardest player you've ever guarded? And I know a lot of people have asked this, and you've probably been asked this a million times, but what's the toughest matchup you've ever had?
Probably Eric Gordon when he was a freshman at IU. You couldn't even touch him. It was a foul. If you breathed on him, it was a foul. But then Evan Turner also.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was nasty.
Different level there. If you could take one skill or player from this year's team and add it to one of your teams, which one of your teams would it be and why?
I think I'm taking TK my senior year. Obviously, Robbie gets injured. We are searching, right? We are looking to play a completely different style. We lost, one of our arguably best player, depending how you looked at it, right? Our kind of Swiss Army knife, you could say. Could do a little bit of everything. Adding TK would have given us, an inside presence. We can put Jawan on the outside, to knock down shots and everything like that. I think that's where I would go. Just, solely based around the Robbie ACL tear.
That's perfect answer right there.
Yeah, it is. TKR and Jawan would have been a nasty combo too. That would have been nice. Okay, this is kind of a two-parter here. Coffee or energy drinks?
I honestly hate coffee. I'm an energy drink guy. I try to stop, but I just can't.
And what's your go-to energy drink?
So I go between kind of Alani or Bloom at this point.
My wife likes those Alanis.
Bloom are healthy, aren't they? Like healthy, quote unquote.
Yeah.
It's manufactured in a lab, but I guess it's healthy as you could get. Yeah,
it's good for you. Okay, so would you rather take a charge that wins the game or hit a game-winning three?
Man. I mean, there's not a wrong answer, right? Like you win either way.
Yeah.
Wait, how do you want to win, Chris? That's the question.
Well, there's no charges being taken today. I mean, we've taken way more charges than probably any team in the country.
Yes.
Yeah.
The charge is just not something that gets called, so I'll take the game-winning three for sure.
All right.
I always wondered if a guy known for defense wanted that game-winning three. I had a feeling.
I mean, I had the layup, but I'll take the three.
Yeah. You also had a 15-footer from your knees, which is pretty incredible. That gets replayed all the time. I love that shot. What's more exhausting, guarding an All-American for 40 minutes or chasing 3 little girls around?
It's just different, man. I would say chasing around an All-American, right? Like I'm blessed to be a father and
Yep.
get to spend that time and you know, daddy, like right, even though it might be tiring or whatever, but like your kids are only little for so long. So
Right.
um, you gotta try to embrace those moments while you can.
For sure. I'm learning that. My kids are 10 and
Bingo.
7, and it feels like every day they're moving further away from dad, you know?
Dude, I got a 13-year-old. What are you talking about, man?
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
it goes so fast. Who is the best defender in the Big Ten right now, Chris?
Probably Colin Boswell, I would
Oswell,
say.
Yep.
locking down at PG.
I mean, he's
Yeah.
got the body, he's got the size. I mean, he's like I forget how tall he is, but he's got that body. He's
Yeah.
quick. He's athletic. Um, that's who I would go with.
He's got just a little bit of that dog to him too, that tenaciousness.
Feisty.
hmm
Um, last one for me on this little part here. What's something that you think that youth basketball needs to be teaching kids that right now it's failing to do?
To play man-to-man defense, I feel like you'll get into like youth basketball, even like travel in like third grade, right? And you'll run into a team that plays zone defense because their coach, all they care about is winning.
Yeah.
They're not teaching those kids anything, right? Like if you're playing zone defense at third grade, like you need to be out there teaching your kids man-to-man defense, the fundamentals of the game, and then as they progress and get older, we can start to, some of these other things. But that's the one thing I would go into right there is um, that part of just from like a defensive perspective. But then now more than ever, right? Kids are working out with cones and all of this stuff, and like that skill work is great, but you still have to go and implement it while you're playing, right? Like
Right.
all of those repetitions are great, but you still need to go and play. So, whether that's, I don't see, I mean, we used to go to the park or go to the high school or go to, wherever. There used to always be a run somewhere.
Yeah.
And I don't, maybe there is, maybe I'm just out of the
There's
loop
not.
on that, but like
Mhm.
it's not how it used to be, I don't think.
No, we talk about it a lot. It drives me mad. I drive by basketball courts and they're always empty. Like when I was
Empty,
a kid,
man.
it was
They're
lines of
empty.
people waiting to
Yeah.
get in.
It's sad.
Like winter stays and you've got 10
You
teams
couldn't
waiting.
even get in a game.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you go up to Rochester, you play at Peru, you couldn't even get in a game, man. Okay, so you get to really relive one game at Purdue. Which one is it?
Like a home game at Purdue or just any game?
Whatever
Any
you
game.
want. It's your choice. One game you wish you could go back and relive.
I'd probably say that is that Texas A&M game to go to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Everything around that would probably get injured. I mean, everybody counted us out to lose to Siena in the first round. And then obviously, I mean, personally, I played well. And then obviously with the layup, I mean, it'd be cool to go back and
Yeah.
go through it again.
Awesome. All right, just rapid fire here. Last little segment. This is just like a this or that type of thing.
One word, yeah.
Are you early bird or a night owl?
Night owl.
I figured with the 9 p.m. start, you might be a night owl. Android or iPhone?
iPhone.
There you go, Dalton.
Oh,
Home cooked meal or going out to eat?
Home cooked meal.
Yep. Texting or phone calls?
Texting.
Chicken or the egg? Which was first?
The chicken.
There we go.
all right. Fair enough. Dogs or cats?
Neither.
Neither.
Okay.
All right. Pizza or tacos?
Oh man, I gotta say tacos.
Yes.
Tacos it is. Cruise or stay on land for vacation?
Stay on land. I hate
Okay,
a cruise. Yeah,
fair. Star Wars or Star Trek?
neither.
Neither.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Theme park or a concert slash a show?
Concert or show.
All right.
I saw you're trying to get rid of some tickets.
Yeah, Brandon Lake. Yep. We got 4
All right.
tickets.
Yeah, yeah. If anybody wants them, hit Chris up on X. All right, we got a couple fan questions. This one comes from Bobby Plump Anon on X. Can you ask him about how he was able to be so versatile as a defender? The broadcast raved about his ability to guard guards bigger than him. He's referencing a West Virginia game that I believe was on a replay.
I think a lot of it just pride, man. Like, I was given an assignment to guard, like that West Virginia game, probably Devin Eubanks or Deshaun Butler. Some of their big time guards. And there's no excuses, right? I mean, you got to get the job done. And going against bigger guards, I was able to kind of crawl up and kind of get underneath them a little bit, make it a little bit tougher, while still being able to kind of armbar them to where I wanted them to go. But then just the way that we played, picking up full court, we made the game just so tough for everybody. We wore people down that way. And then eventually teams would break.
Yeah.
Sweet. We'll get to Blake Widmer. He's a real big fan and Twitter personality. Will a player this year in the NCAA tournament have a crazier bucket than the 15-footer from their knees? And if so, what is the crazy bucket and who hits it? Thank you for the epic memories.
I mean, I have no idea.
It's an impossible question.
I can say that this is like one of those plays, right? It's like, had I dribbled the ball better, I never would have done that shot, right? It's like one of those shots. Like, how did you do that? It's like, well, it didn't happen on purpose, right? It's like the slide in the Virgin Islands. Looking back, I'm like, what was I doing? Why did I do that? Yeah, sure, it worked out, and people are like, "That's awesome," but I was like, I don't know why I did that. So honestly, I don't know what that shot would be or who's going to hit it. But I'm glad it was a memory that that he enjoys. Obviously, it was something spur of the moment that happened, but it all happened with just a missed dribble and shot clock winding down.
Made it
Yeah,
happen.
my guess is a Braden Smith breakaway dunk as they win the national title for his first career dunk.
First career done.
That's what
I
I'm
mean,
hoping
that'd be a hell of a way to have a first dunk, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Last one here we'll get to. A lot of the other ones have already been hit on from us. Andy in Colorado, he listens to a lot here. So, which arena outside of Mackey was your favorite in the Big Ten? He said, I'm guessing the toughest competitor has already been answered, which it has. So,
So I would say there's two, right? Playing in Assembly Hall, just with the rivalry, like their fans are crazy. They're like, we're getting flipped off on the bus as we're driving up from all their fans. And then just all of their chants and everything they're saying to you during the game is hilarious, right? The best part about it is when you win and you see them just walking up the stands, and you can hear a pin drop, right? It's so quiet. It's the best feeling as an opposing player. The other one I would say is Michigan State. I feel like the Izzone when I played was on fire. Like, I remember they used to try to run alley-oop plays right off the jump. They'd back screen. The big that was jumping in their center would run and they'd throw, and they got a lot of people. And they had bags ready. So as soon as he dunked it, everybody popped these bags. And it was a huge pop.
oh wow.
So if you weren't ready, you're thinking of, shots going off. But like they had hilarious signs. They were all obviously, the atmosphere was electric. When I'd have been a junior. Chris Reed, throwback Chris Reed, was out there shooting around and was just kind of jacking around and throwing up air balls, and they got him to go sit down for the rest of warm up because they were just abusing him. So like, they have some of that, and they were able to kind of get under people's skin a little bit. So yeah, I would say playing at Assembly Hall in the Breslin Center.
A couple of quick ones that just came in. You don't have to answer this one, but this is a running joke from this guy. Did CK3 believe when you told him you had a son? He says my family's fake.
He tells me every podcast
single
his family's not real. So,
and then I am Saluki, who also goes by Jeff Nestor. He said, "Should baggy shorts make a comeback?"
Yeah,
Absolutely not.
Those were egregious. The ones you guys had were out of control.
you guys.
And the thing is, it's going. Hey, that picture is going to recirculate here in a couple weeks, and it's all the cycle's going to go again.
Yeah. Real quick, if you have them, or who are your Final Four picks for this year? Do you have them?
Well, I can't because I don't have the bracket. The bracket,
fair.
Who plays when, all of those things, I think honestly are the biggest factor in the NCAA tournament. Who do I think are contenders? I think there's 3 from the Big Ten to make a Final Four. I think it's Michigan, Illinois, and Purdue. I think obviously Duke is really good. The Big 12 has a few teams that are pretty good. I think Iowa State, they kind of beat up on each other. Kansas, you never know what's going to happen with them. They can be really good. They can be awful. Darren Peterson can play. You can't. You never know. Houston has the toughness. I know they haven't beaten anybody at this point, but they have the toughness. They've all been there before too. Anybody else I'm missing?
You got any sleepers?
Any sleepers?
Yeah, like a St. John's coming out of the Big East or something. I mean,
I'm not a big St. John's fan. I've seen them play. I know they beat UConn, the one, MSG.
I don't think UConn's that good on Double D's podcast, Chris. We don't really believe in them.
Yeah, I don't think they're very good either. But I don't like Dan Hurley, but he's a mastermind, like he really is.
Yeah.
He's going to put him in position, and if not, he's going to ride the refs until like they get a few calls, and then you never know what's going to happen.
Right. Did you ever run into him anywhere in college? Where was he at during your years? He would have been a young fella.
Yeah, I honestly have no idea. I don't even remember Dan Hurley until a few years ago, when he was, with these UConn teams.
Wasn't he Brain from Pinky and the Brain back then?
Oh, come on, man. That's uncalled for.
All right, one last question here from a fan. I can't get it to pull up right now, but it's from Rickus Morty, the same guy who says I don't have a family. He said, real question, anything Painter taught you that, you still hang on to today and pass on to maybe your kids or to other people out there?
I think the biggest thing, right, like away from basketball is, treat people the right way and then always be on time. It's those 2 things that you can definitely control. He always talked about you never know who that person sitting next to you on a flight is. Or, you never know if you walk into a country club or a restaurant or whatever, right? Like your first impression is going to tell them a lot about yourself. And you never know if you go into a job interview and you're like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
I've seen that, I know him, like that's the last thing you want. Like you already so if you can treat people the right way and show up on time, you can kind of control your controllables. You're going to be ahead of a lot of people in life.
Yep. And then on that same thing, I just kind of want you to get your message out there, as say some kids are sitting in the stands, 15, 16, same age I was when you were playing, What do you hope they feel or think when they see that Purdue jersey that you put on? What do you hope that you've inspired to a younger generation and that this team can continue to carry on moving forward?
That's a good question, man. Honestly, I think that, first of all, you're a role model to all these kids, right? So, like, you want to go out there and you want to play the right way. You want to go out there and have them want to try to follow in your footsteps. Playing for Purdue, especially now talking NIL is completely different than, when I played. But it is the biggest blessing. Purdue is an unbelievable place with unbelievable people all over. But as a player, you just want to go out there and leave it all in the court, right? You want to empty your tank consistently. And if you have aspirations of wanting to play at Purdue or, somewhere similar, right, it's what are you going to do to differentiate yourself? You don't have to be LeBron James. Are you going to be a good teammate? Are you going to play consistently play well? All of those little things in recruiting matter. Do you run off the court when you get subbed out? Are you arguing with a referee? Are you arguing with your teammate? Are you arguing with your coach? Recruiters are watching every little thing that you're doing. And if it comes to pulling straws on, hey, this guy might be better than this guy, but this guy's a better teammate, they're going to go with the better teammate every single time. So, your skills are your skills, but all of those controllables are things that only make you look better in the grand scheme of things.
Beautiful, man. Chris, seriously, that's great. And thank you so much, man, for what you gave to Purdue, what you still give to the fans of Purdue with your, being accessible and coming on stuff like this. It really means a lot for the standard that you set and continue to set for this program. There's a lot of guys who wear the, the Purdue jersey, but not everyone defines it, and I feel like you do. And to me, that's what it means to be a Boilermaker. We appreciate you coming on, sharing your perspective, reminding us what Purdue basketball is all about. So, thank you, Boiler Up, and you're welcome on anytime.
Thank you.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you, chat. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. But anything you want to send them out with, Chris?
No, man, I appreciate the opportunity. We got 2 more home games, and then we're
go.
So, 2 more opportunities to, enjoy the seniors and, enjoy this run in Mackey Arena before, we get into kind of tournament style play. So let's enjoy, this little bit here of the regular season, and then let's turn it up. So let's boiler up.
Boiler up.
Hammer
Appreciate
down,
everybody.
baby.
Peace out.